Which Mario Kart title are you thinking of when I'm asking you for the first one that comes to mind? Is it Mario Kart 8, Wii, Double Dash, DS or 64? I'd guess it's probably one of those. Maybe you thought Mario Kart 7, and that would make sense. This video is about 7 after all, so you must have a certain interest specifically in 7. Maybe you are an absolute madman and immediately thought about Super Circuit, which would be really cool, but that's surely a rare occasion. Generally though, I'm sure most would think of some other title before Mario Kart 7 pops up. And it's a damn shame, because I must say that
Mario Kart 7!
One more thing before we start. Normally the game runs in 240p, that was the resolution the 3DS could manage, and it looks fine on a screen size like this, or even a bit bigger like this. On a monitor, which was never targeted, not so much. The majority is likely watching on their phone, but for the chosen few viewers that use a computer, let's upgrade the resolution. Just slightly, let's say by 1,344,000 pixels to a crisp HD. Now you can actually see the details and surprisingly pretty 3DS graphics. Honestly, that handheld could do some impressive stuff. Okay, everything's sorted out, I'll pick up where my sentence left off. And it's a damn shame, because I must say that Mario Kart 7 deserves more credit for being willing to innovate on a well-established franchise. Maybe having Retro Studios help out in development gave an outsider influence, or maybe handhelds present a great possibility to experiment without as much risk. Whatever the reason might be, 7 implemented a lot of new features, none as revolutionary as Wii's trick system or uniquely interesting as Double Dash's double characters, but all really cool. Pick a character, pick a car or bike. Oh, no bikes. I mean, they were overpowered monsters. And no cars. Don't get confused, no normal cars. This isn't Nintendo's attempt at a Sonic R clone with Mario jogging at 8 km per hour around those courses. Instead of picking from a small selection of vehicles with different stats, you can assemble them yourself. Watch the stats closely. The car body, wheels and gliders take effect. Different arrangements result in different stats. The developers found a good balance with the car customization. It isn't too complex to hinder pick up and play, neither too simple to feel completely inconsequential. Having a constant stream of unlockables alongside new characters, cups and mirror mode is also quite nice. The number of car parts isn't as expansive here as in 8, but it's fun to play around with. Until you find the best choice, then it's press A, okay, done. The best new feature might honestly be the glider that we chose. It's not just for style points like an excessive spoiler, we can use it whenever the boost panel is blue to enter a flying segment. Prior titles had these cannons that would shoot you all across the map, or long boost panels that basically did the same thing on a smaller scale. There were nice wow moments, set pieces to offer diversion from driving, yet they were also kind of boring after you've seen them multiple times, because in the end there are moments of gameplayless waiting. Sure, the waiting was never long enough to be a real bother, but the glider is great in doing something similar without taking the player's control away. Cannons can still be useful for getting players up. Down though, that's more fun with a glider. And you cannot talk about flight without mentioning underwater in the next sentence, so I'll do exactly that. Driving underwater is fine. It isn't gliding, which is more set-piece oriented and interesting from a gameplay perspective. The underwater segments are more focused on visuals and variety than anything else. The car physics do change. Turns are heavier and you float slightly after jumps and bumpy terrain, not so significantly that you'd need to adjust your driving style though. It's all manageable. No, the underwater segments were clearly implemented to give the level designers extra freedom in creating crazy tracks. Anti-gravity in 8 provides the same. Additional possibilities for insane course designs. I wouldn't fault you for thinking, man, I thought a car builder, flying and underwater was everything new. Of course, dude, that would already seem like quite enough new stuff. Nah, just a little sprinkle on top. Checkpoint races. Now some courses don't have laps and checkpoints instead. Those tracks go in a line, which is segmented by 3 checkpoints replacing the normal laps. The benefit? Greater variation and less circle, more line. Both Woohoo tracks are perfect examples for this approach. Who would have expected coins to ever return? The last time they were seen in a mainline Mario Kart title was Super Circuit on the GBA, a full decade without coins. And here they are, back, like they never left. Mario Kart 7 figured out how coins should work. In Super and Super Circuit, just touching other drivers made you lose a coin, and if you got none, any small nudge by your competitors made you spin out. So they were basically a health system, and collecting them would shield you against crashing by being barely touched, besides turning up the speed. 7 limits the overall coin number to 10, which makes it a lot more readable and easier to understand how much it affects your vehicle. You won't lose them just by touch anymore, slightly heavier weaponry is required, and if you can't help yourself and want to fill your purse even after you reach the limit, every extra coin gives you a slight speed boost. That does have another gain, you know, collecting like a money-hungry Wario, which is unlocking car parts. I must say, they implemented them in a clever way, getting as much value out of a pretty simple item as possible that never seemed to fit and was subsequently dropped for many years. When Mario Kart 7 rolled around, this franchise knew how to build fantastic courses, and 7 is no exception. It might actually have one of the strongest selections of new tracks with some absolute bangers. Tell me to my face, no, rather not, tell me in the comments if you want, that Shy Guy Bazaar, DK Jungle, Piranha Plant Slide, Wario Shipyard, Music Park, Rainbow Road and the Woohoo tracks aren't some of the best this series has to offer. Sure, many of those have returned for aid, if not already for the base game, than the Booster Course Pass, and most are better versions, I'd say, that are more enjoyable. Still, they had to come from somewhere, and somewhere is here. Truthfully, remembering all new courses right now, I wouldn't call any bad. Not even closely. Toad Circuit is kinda mid, but a solid introduction. Cheep Cheep Lagoon is quite boring, but has this cool segment inside a flooded cave, and Bowser's Castle is all over the place without a consistent theming, but fun to play. You see, for me those 3 new courses are the weakest, and I still find positive attributes. Other than that, the tracks range from good to masterpieces, honestly. My favorite Rainbow Road is in this game. Flying from planet to planet, drifting along the rings, heading straight down to the crater-riddled moon's surface. I cannot criticize anything, and it also has one of the strongest Mario circuits, normally grouped with the less interesting tracks. The cherry blossoms are beautiful, and drifting through Peach's castle is so cool. Makes me miss 8's third boost state though. Drifting long enough to charge purple is incredibly satisfying, but that didn't exist in 7. Whenever the curves are long, my brain begs for a purple drift boost. I could talk about each and every single course, and these are only the new ones. Don't sweat, I won't. I already talked about some of them in this video, and I don't want to sound like a broken record repeating myself. So I'll keep the retro cups short and sweet. Most points I made apply to them anyway. One of the strongest selections. Koopa Cape, Maple Treeway, Dino Dino Jungle, Daisy Cruiser, Waluigi Pinball, blah blah blah. Check. Many returned since then. Check. None of them are bad. Check. I wanna highlight 3 specifically, because they didn't return for 8. Firstly, Airship Fortress, such a fantastic track, dodging the bullet bill cannon fire, the rocky wrenches on the deck surprising you from under the floor, traversing the deathly inside portion, and then the best part, being shot through a hole in the tower wall and drifting the whole spiral down. Hey, could be even better focused right. Look at how long this goes. They kept it very close to the original DS version, thankfully. The track didn't need to change. A graphical upgrade was clearly all it needed. Also, I think the airship theme never fully returned. I can only think of Cloud Top Cruise from 8, and the airship part is very short. Well, would like to see that return someday. Nintendo, write that down. Secondly, DK Pass. Calling it the little brother of the more famous Donkey Kong Snow Course would be underselling it. DK Summit might be bigger and higher, but DK Pass is great in its own right. This course just had bad luck being outshined by the Wii and actually on Mario Kart 7 itself by DK Jungle. We must race up the mountain ourselves and then back down again. And the mountain doesn't like us throwing huge snowballs and putting snowmen on the road. Many will probably know the secret item box that can be reached with a mushroom and contains stronger items regardless of position. You can get a star at first place if you're lucky. Maybe some only know it for that item box. And thirdly, Luigi's Mansion. You can see a pattern here, all of them are DS remakes. Man, they really chose the creme de la creme of DS tracks. Luigi, also the best character in general, won a mansion. Suspicious. And the first thing he does is getting his friends and Honey Queen together to race through the interior, staining a beautiful red carpet, destroying the garden, annoying the walking trees, and drifting over the muddy ground outside. What a mess. Jokes aside, Luigi's Mansion was a perfect track choice, with its dense and dark atmosphere. The shaking paintings inside and the lightning struck sky outside are nice details. Besides the classic racing, another mode every Mario Kart must have is battle. Only Mario Party has killed more friendships. MK7 doesn't go all out with its battle mode. It's just there. Like a checkmark on a list to have the full experience and not disappoint fans. You got Balloon Battle and Coin Runners, 3 Retro Arenas and 3 Nitro Arenas, a handful of settings. My biggest problem is that I cannot set a time limit myself or a different goal for winning. Smash Bros is such a good example. I don't want to be restricted to 2 minutes always. And if I could make Balloon Battle a last survivor equals winner, adding a setting for the number of balloons you start with, I would enjoy it a whole lot more. Normally, I play a round on each of the maps, then I'm like, okay, in a few years again. The best thing that came out of this was Woohoo Town. Everything Woohoo related turned out so good. Why couldn't the Woohoo courses be remade if Woohoo Town was no problem? My scribbled notes say I should do a transition to my next topic. How about... items are very important in battle mode, right? Let's talk. There isn't much to talk about. They dropped some items from Wii, some deserved, hate the Thunder Cloud, some undeserved, like the fake item box, before they turned it red. It was actually cool ones. And they added 3 new items, all of which are solid. The Fire Flower can be annoying, throwing them like an unhinged lunatic is fun though, and the Super Leaf is actually quite useful, even if you get it too often. The Tanuki Tail can basically deflect most items and slaps any opponents that get near you. I guess it was dropped for the Super Horn, but it could have come back in my eyes. And the Lucky 7, that results in mayhem and that I never managed to use with care. I just spam everything to not lose the star. That one did return in an even less functional state as Crazy 8. Comparing it to Mario Kart Wii, I'm glad they tweaked the item balance. You can still be combo womboed here and there when multiple items hit you like... And I wouldn't call the game friendly, it's still an asshole. More than 1 blue shell per course is too much and MK7 regularly hits you with 2 or at worst 3. But it isn't as bad as Wii. Wii hated the player. That game was possessed by an unholy spirit, man. That thing needed to be exorcised. I didn't forget anything. What the hell? Well, it feels like it, doesn't it? Like Mario Kart 7 was forgotten by most people or became less known over the years than it should have. Why? Why doesn't Mario Kart 7 stick? Even though introducing many new features, having a clear impact on the franchise, if looking at its sequel, and overall being very good. A high quality entry. I suspect it's because of two culprits. Mario Kart 7 is in a weird in-between. Not old enough to spark big nostalgic feelings like the older titles, neither new enough to be relevant like 8, which is not only the newest but also updated to this day, getting content that keeps it in the public's awareness. I wouldn't be surprised if the 3DS library will be looked at with more nostalgia in a short few years even. Currently, not quite. I mean, 7 is 12 years old. The kids that grew up with it should be out there somewhere. I didn't. Mario Kart Wii was my childhood game. This point does not include Super Mario Kart or Super Circuit. They might just be even less remembered, and they sort of stand for themselves anyway, not being 3D. Every other game has something else, something uniquely theirs. 64 has a very committed speedrunning community. Sure, all Mario Karts have speedrunners, 7 as well, but 64, in my perception, got the biggest, longest living. I know that Wii is very strong here too, but 64 has been around double that time. Double Dash is still really unique. No other series entry had the double character mechanic and switching. And the same counts for the missions from DS, which were never attempted again. Every single new feature Mario Kart 7 introduced was brought back in 8 and improved. Car customization, flying underwater. I can do those in 8. They left nothing for 7 to keep for itself. And Wii has an incredible modding community. Nothing compares to CTGP Revolution. Though I did stumble across CTGP 7. Is it worth checking out? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong and 7 never was as forgotten as it seemed to me. Who cares really? Except for the guy making a video about it. Mario Kart 7 is a superb game and as fun today as back in 2011. That's all that matters. Thanks for watching. And quick thanks for over 100 subscribers. Insane.